Hi, welcome back to me and Mon Ami. Now, the little dashboard in front of me here says that we are approaching 5,000 kilometers, and during those 5,000 kilometers and 9 months we've taken this car into some extraordinary places. We've gone up Italian mountains, we've gone into tiny French villages, we've gone to the highest coastal town in Europe. We've really put it through its paces. And what we're going to do today is take a look at just what kind of condition the car is in after our stress test. So we're going to go to the end of Villefranche Beach and see whether our Citroen Ami is dropping to bits. So here we are at the end of Villefranche Beach, where we first took delivery of this vehicle, where we did our first tentative baby steps at pretend driving. And since then, as I say, we've done 5,000, just short of 5,000 kilometers in this quadricycle. Now, of course, it's designed to be an urban mobility object. I don't think Citroen said anything about going up mountains and through forests and all the stuff that we've done, and into Italy and up the Nervia Valley. So let's take a look at how it's standing up. Let's start with the body. It's made of this kind of polyurethane, tough plastic. Somebody very viciously once described it as the same material you use in a porta potty. Now, I think that's really cruel, because I actually love the colour, I love the utilitarian nature, but how is it standing up? Well, in terms of holding together, because of course all these pieces come off, they're identical either side, so you can replace them very easily. I don't think we've got any weaknesses. Everything is in the right place. Can you hear that knocking? That knocking proves it. Now, I have had the odd little scrape very early on. I scraped it against a wall down here, and you can see, Mr. Boo, if you come in, slight little marks. And I think there's probably a slightly bigger one on this side. Yes, there is here. I scraped it into a wall. They really look a little bit like sort of, well, scratches. It's like you scratched your arm. Now, I have seen people on Facebook tell me that you can actually remedy this with a bit of a heat gun or a hairdryer, and if you're very careful, and maybe a little bit of abrasive stuff. But to be honest, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, in the end of the day, it is a vehicle to be used. It's whilst one loves it, cars are going to get scratched, aren't they? So the bodywork is holding up. In terms of colour and discoloration, I think that's holding up pretty well. I mean, I've got to be honest, I think we've washed this car fully once, haven't we?
A couple of times, like properly with soap and water.
A couple of times Mr. Boo's had a go at it. And this morning I gave it a big go with Windoline, but I don't think there's any particular discoloration or fading of the bodywork after 5,000 kilometres. Now, as far as the roof goes, I would say there is a little bit of, well, marking that I find very difficult to get off. Now, it may be, as I say, because it lives under this olive tree, that all this sap sort of comes out of the olives and causes problems. But can you see that, Mr. Boo? And no matter how much I try, I can't quite get rid of it, but it may be. I
think you're supposed to clean it just by licking it.
Maybe not. Actually no. When I lick it and rub it, what it needs is a Brillo. Needs a green pad. So I was going to say that I thought the roof had got discoloured. I think I'm lying. It just needs a bit of a green pad and some window grease, some elbow grease.
Window grease.
Window grease. Have you got any elbow grease, Mr.
No, that's
Boo?
a window grease. That's on the windows.
So anyway, false alarm. I think the roof will come back to normal. But as you can see, we're not the most house proud. We don't clean it that much. And let's take a look at the lights. How are they bearing up? Well, they're all functioning. They've functioned from day one to now. This rear light here, if you come close, Mr. Boo, there's a bit of a gap. Now, I've got to be honest, that was always there. It's just not quite set properly. I suspect if I were to put my hand under here and fiddle about, I could probably bend something and it would fit perfectly in position, but I've just not wanted to bother. But the lights are all solid and still working. I know some people are worried about putting guards on them and all kinds of things at the front. Well, so far we've not had any problem with that. What about the glass? Well, as I've said many times, there's a lot of glass on this vehicle. It's all solid. We found that occasionally the windows can rattle just a little bit, would you say, Mr. Boo?
Yeah, especially mine.
Especially his over cobbles. And we actually added a couple of spacers just to remedy that, not least because it kept getting in the way of the filming and it was an annoying rattle. But all the glass is solid and still in position, and the windows are fully working. You hear that sort of squeak? Maybe we need a bit of WD-40 on them, Mr. Boo, because they can get quite stiff, these sort of old 2CV style windows. Similarly, the wing mirrors, despite the fact that last week I bumped one of them into a motorbike, they're solid, they're still there, they're still with us and working. And the skylight on top is absolutely solid and still working. It's, if anything, working too well. It is still a major problem for us because we have to park this thing in the sun outside the house under an olive tree, so all the olive stuff drops off onto here, so it's like a sort of old, I don't know, it's like somebody's baked some olive oil on the roof when you come down in the morning. And it does get incredibly hot. Now, what about our tyres? Now, it should be said that you know, some people have definitely had an issue with the geometry of the back of the car, and some cars have had to go, some quads have had to go back in and had a little spacer put in, because what was happening is the alignment at the back was meaning that the inside of the tyre was wearing out very, very quickly. Luckily, after 5,000 kilometres, no such issue for us, so I'm guessing our geometry is fine despite some of the places we've taken it. So the tyres are in good shape. Hubcaps. Well, apologies, I haven't really washed them, but these are in good shape. We did have to buy a set of 4 because I had a very early accident, didn't I, Mr. Boo? At about 2 miles an hour, I was going around a very hairpin bend, and an SUV was coming down the other side, and I slightly panicked, and I drove into a little rock. And so for about 60 quid, I think, on Mr. Auto, we got another 4, so we've got 3 spares. But yeah, the hubcaps are bearing up. You can see a couple of scratches on them. That's from parking and curb burn, I think is the term in the profession they use, Mr. Boo. Curb burn. I think that's it. So hubcaps are great. This is the Citroen Ami Orange, isn't it?
This is the Citroen Ami My Ami Orange.
My Ami Orange. Now, I'm not sure whether in Britain they're going to call it that, but they may well do. We much preferred this. I'm not so mad on the pop version with the black bits, but obviously that's a personal taste thing. But we like the hubcaps, and Mr. Boo put the stickers on beautifully. Got to be very careful when you put these stickers on, because I saw a Facebook post of somebody with a trial vehicle in Britain this week, and this bit was here, and then this bit sort of went up a bit, like it, I mean, maybe they were just trying to be different. Maybe.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Thank you, Siri. No, it's nothing to do with you. I'm doing a review of the car after 5,000 kilometres to see whether it's dropping to bits. Is that all right?
You're welcome.
And of course, the other thing that is a recent addition, so I can't say that these items have done 5,000 kilometres, because if you saw our recall video, it went back into the dealership last week and had mudguards fitted, which is to try and prevent stones and damage to the lock, and it also had new locks, but we'll come on to that. But looking at the mud caps, they're not very muddy, but then it's not very muddy around here, but they seem solid. They have a fair bit of flexibility, so there's, like most of the things on this car, there's a lot of give in it. And you know, when you first sort of come to it, you sort of pull in this and you see this wobbling, you think, is that really good? But actually, I think in many ways it is, because if you have a slight prang or a big stone hits there, rather than go straight through the mudguard, the hope is, I guess, that there's a little bit of movement, a little bit of give, and everything survives. But the the mud guards are all in place and still look, as I say, pretty new, but then it hasn't really rained very much since that first day we got them. So that's the outside covered, but what about the inside? Well, apologies, because again, we're not very house proud and it really is filthy in here. We haven't got a car hoover. If anybody wants to send us a car hoover for review, we'll review it. But let's have a look inside and prepare to get hot. Well, first off, door seals. Our seals are intact. We took it out in an enormous rainstorm last week and we've had no issues with water ingress. I did read somebody saying this week, quite interestingly, that there is a modification that prevents something which we do have occasionally, which is if you open the door in rain, then I think it's from here that the water sort of drops off the top of the door, then drops onto here, and then drops into the car, onto the floor. I mean, we're only talking little bits of water. It's only the same sort of stuff that you're bringing off your feet. So I don't think it's a great issue. So door seals, fine. Door locks, well, these are our brand new door locks. They certainly sound better. They're much more Jimmy Savile, aren't they? Clunk, click every trip.
Oh my God.
I probably shouldn't have done that. But you know, they are. And so these are the ones that they fitted at the dealership when we were recalled. And I'm guessing if you're going to order in this quad now, it will come with these and it'll come with the door seals. What about the Miami Orange nets? These are the Miami Orange nets. It sounds like something that, who is it, Adav? Ina Sharple.
Orange nets.
Orange nets. Oh, she's got some orange nets as that Maureen. Look at her, they need a wash. Anyway, I digress. These nets, now as you can see, we have everything in here from water bottles to the gym, a 360 camera, which incidentally we're going to use quite soon, and try and put it underneath the car so we can actually see what's happening under the thing. We've got dead cats. I mean, it's not a real dead cat, it's a dead cat for a microphone. We've got a chamois chakrabarti for cleaning the windows. But anyway, we've an awful lot of what's known in the term, in the trade as crap in these. And we could not live without these nets. There's one on either side. They're absolutely fantastic. The only issue we did have is this one. The screw came loose, as they say in the trade. Bizarrely, I solved it with some industrial strength blue tack, which I've solved an awful lot of problems in this car with really strong, quite expensive blue tack. And since then, it's kept the pressure and it's not fallen off. But we stick a lot of things up in here with blue tack. I was going to
say, we do kind of abuse
the blue tack.
The blue tack, we abuse the baskets.
Oh, we do abuse the baskets completely, but they're surviving. The other thing we have a lot of is very expensive high temperature Scotch tape. Trouble is, well, does it work? Next thing to look at, the knobs and the dials. Well, let's put the old key in the lock. Here's the key. I love this big old clunky key. Lots of my friends laugh and say cars don't have keys like that anymore. Here you can see the dials. It's all very simple. You see that, Mr. Boo? Windscreen wipers all working, or windscreen wiper, singular. And we've also got our little squirty, which I love to drive past people at traffic lights when they're on those little electric trottinettes, and I just do that. Give them a quick squirt. So all of that is good. We have had to fill up this a couple of times, haven't they, with our, oh, we did a little late one, with our, with our squirty liquid. Yeah. And we're going to do a video about that, a quick video about that, about how you do that, because it's quite interesting and strange where it's positioned. So all of that stuff is working. All of the stuff that came with the orange, Miami Orange set, as it were, which I think was about 300 or 400 quid. These things, we absolutely love them, the trays. The only thing they're a bit problematic for is when we're filming, they sometimes reflect in the windscreen, but that's not Citroen's fault. One thing we are still struggling with, it's become the wrestling match of our lives, is this ruddy parasol on the roof. It's vital to keep the sun out, but it comes with these plastic things that you're meant to just sort of scotch tape on and stick it into. Well, I'm afraid because of where we park, because it's super hot, they just fall off. So then I got this super strong 93 degrees centigrade Fahrenheit whatever scotch tape at about 20 quid. That fell off. We've now gone for a combination of tie wraps. Can you see this, Mr. Boo? Tie wraps into the scotch tape, allowing for a little bit of give on the scotch tape. So you see what I mean? Look, like a little hinge I've created. And so far they haven't fallen off. I mean, they look like they were made for a Blue Peter appeal. I accept that. They're not really my idea of style. But I have to say, it can be quite dangerous, because if you're driving along and this thing suddenly falls off because it gets too hot and it's in front of you, and that has happened to us a number of times. So the parasol, I have tie wrapped around the edge here so to prevent that can happen, so it cannot now drop onto us. But I have to say, it could look a little better. But of course, in here we've got loads of wires for microphones and cameras and God knows what, so that's that. We have to put up with it. Well, there are two pedals to this car, you know. Two. A brake and an accelerator. And I can report that they're both working, as is the handbrake. Quick tip with the handbrake though, there are two settings. There is quite strong and there is very strong. I tend to go for the very strong. I did have an incident when I stopped for some water in front of a lot of cool looking teenagers who were fascinated by the car, so I sort of strutted out to fill my water bottle, tried to look, you know, effortlessly cool, and the next thing I know, the car was rolling back down the hill. They were absolutely, I think the term is peeing themselves with laughter, and I had to run and open the door and pull on the handbrake, and I did suffer a groin strain that day. So make sure you put your handbrake on properly. Just going to put a water bottle here. That's the other thing we use these water bottles for, is to keep the door open, because if you don't, look, it just closes itself the whole time. And so it's worth either having a water bottle that then you can take to the gym, or an old tennis ball would work there. Old tennis ball. Maybe Emma Raducanu's old tennis balls, because I mean, let's face it, she's no need of them. Not convinced, are you? Not convinced. She could be the Joe Johnson of tennis. Some people will be old enough to remember Joe Johnson. He won the World Snooker Championship, and that was it. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with this video. Electrics, that's the next thing. Here is the old cable coming out. Now, have we had any problems with the electrics? None whatsoever. Touch wood, touch some wood, touch wood. We've not had any issues with fusing or anything else, and we've not had any problems with this cable coming decoupled from inside the car. It may be because we often don't pull this fully out, because it's a pain in the bottom to put back in, and what we use is an extension cable and take it to the charger. You probably shouldn't do that, but we've got away with it for 5,000 kilometres in nuclear heat, so, well, we may be the exception that proves the rule. So, we're now going to put our Insta360 1X camera, and we're going to, on this fishing rod, going fishing, and try and stick it under the car, as it were, and see what we can see. We've got our Bluetti power station light under there, so we're hoping that works. That's the camera rolling. Better give the lenses a bit of a clean. Fatal error, don't clean your lenses. Right, let's see what it looks like underneath. And try not to scratch the 360 lens. Well, I can't tell you what you're seeing, because only you can see it. But hopefully that's giving you an idea of what the condition of the underside of the car is after 5,000 kilometres, and what's actually there. You might even be able to see the mud guards. we're now going to stick our 360 up the rear, as it were. So there you can see the underside of the car, and I have to say, it's remarkably clean, isn't it? I'm really surprised after 5,000 kilometres of where we've been. I mean, we are lucky that we don't get a lot of rain here, but we have been out in the rain. But I hope that's giving you an idea. You can see the motor, the differential, the battery. You can see the new hubcaps that they've fitted. And you can see the frame of this thing. And, well, you decide for yourself, but it looks to me to be bearing up pretty well. Oh, it's killed my knees. So there you have it. You've seen how Elton's standing up. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like, please give us a comment, please think about buying us a coffee to support the channel, which is very important. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.